welcome to Shanghai. I am Ting Yi.
Hi, I'm Timothy Pope.
Now, AI is transforming the healthcare landscape, and a Shanghai startup is leading the charge. I recently had the opportunity to explore their innovations and speak to the brilliant minds driving this revolution. AI empowers life. We've all heard the phrase, but how and where? Well, it's happening right here. At this hospital in Shanghai, AI systems developed by a local startup are making a big difference in the quality of care. 黄主任你好。
你好。
This is the pathology department. Here, each biopsy sample is sliced into many thin sections and prepared for screening under microscopes. 您箭头现在指的地方是？
这是一个典型的癌前病变。
Doctors spend long hours staring down microscopes to examine samples and produce reports. But now, using high-resolution scanners, doctors can view the images on their screens. And in the background, AI is at work, analyzing the data and offering diagnostic suggestions.
这个 AI 告诉我们，它是低级别的病变，你看它自己标注出来。
哦，就是这个有颜色的。
对，标注出来，你看这个它标的还真准。本来4个工作日发出去的报告，2天我们现在就可以发出去，大概提高了我们50%的这个工作效率。它的水平相当于这个高年资主治医师的水平。
AI has also been integrated into surgical planning. These systems help surgeons make more accurate, efficient, and personalized decisions.
这是一例早期肝癌的病人啊，那我们在切除的时候就要在这根血管上上一个血管夹，这就是我们手术中需要做到精准切除的范围。
所以就是这个绿色部分。
对，就是这个绿色的这个部分。
Apart from diagnosis and surgeries, AI has demonstrated other benefits.
Ruijin Hospital and Shanghai company, we do together as a digital human being, can reflect the real anatomic relationship between all the organs, and then we can do even a surgery in these digital human beings. We can make the learning curve of a certain technique shorter.
China, with a population of 1.4 billion, has set a target of 3.2 doctors per 1,000 people by the year of 2025. But with AI working alongside doctors, we might just be able to achieve more than that. So I'm really eager to meet the people behind these smart systems. Since 2018, SenseTime Smart Health, a Shanghai-based startup, has partnered with nearly 1,000 hospitals globally to bring AI into healthcare. Develop the smart systems we just saw at Ruijin Hospital.
Everyone's talking about foundation models, large language models. We call them generalists, meaning that one system can deal with everything.
Right.
However, in hospital, we usually use specialists for better accuracy, efficiency, and to meet requirement of regulation. To build such kind of system, we need to collect a large amount of data, label or annotate them, and feed them into deep learning system for training purpose. So for like pathology AI used in Ruijin Hospital, we labeled over 20,000 whole slide images and then built our system to be used in Ruijin.
So typically, what's the cost and development cycle for such systems?
To build a prototype, it usually takes like 2 to 6 months and based on the public data set. And after that, you have to deploy them in top hospitals for clinical trial purpose. Right. Eventually, you have to get the regulation requirement. And then you have to use it in nearly like hundreds of hospitals to collect feedback and refine your algorithms. In the end, it can be used in any hospital in China. Usually it takes like 2 years and with tens of million yuan as cost.
Overall, where does the field stand today in China, and how is the private sector involved?
Well, it depends. For the radiology AI, it's quite common right now in China. Nearly like all the hospitals here already have the systems. However, for the pathology AI, I think 20 to 30% of the hospitals are using them. And for the surgical planning systems, well, only few top hospitals can use them. So we still have a lot of things to do. And in each area, we may have 4 to 5 major players here. And I believe such kind of competition is beneficial to improve our systems. Well, as you know, market is an invisible hand, as mentioned by Adam Smith. And you may also know, like we have a meeting between the President Xi and also private companies recently. And a lot of high-tech companies, especially those related to AI, were invited. And this shows a very strong commitment from the government to support high-tech advancement and technology development. So I think it's a very good timing for us to be engaged in this AI system development.
So we can expect more innovation coming from the private sector in China, but we also know innovation brings new challenges as well. So when I was at the hospital today, I heard there were concerns about junior doctors actually becoming almost too reliant on AI tools. What's your take on that?
Well, I totally agree. Usually innovation is always like a two-sided sword. On one hand, it can help junior doctors and students to learn knowledge fast, to gain expertise. On the other hand, if we rely on them too much, they may make them like slack off, of course. To me, it's not about the technology only, it's about people who are using it.
Right.
And I always believe people who use AI eventually can outperform people who are not. And I'm always on the optimistic side of the innovation.
Well, that was a very fascinating conversation. I suppose Xiaoting's right. Innovation does bring new challenges, but in the end, it's never about the tech itself, but about people who are using it and how they choose to shape its impact, at least for now. Now, during my visit to the pathology department, they mentioned starting a new project to explore how AI systems can help junior doctors in advancing their careers. So it really comes down to the people who are using AI, doesn't it, Tim?
Yeah, exactly. One thing I really took away from your story is the point about how we do use it. I've seen reports on studies which are already being done into how we use AI. And the results always seem to be that the best results come from humans using AI, but never completely trusting it. We've all heard those stories about AI screening job applications and the trick some people have of putting text in white so that it's invisible to a human reader, but not to the AI. And they just load that with all the keywords that the recruitment AI wants to see, and they get an interview for a job that they're not qualified for. And I think this has been true of almost every new technology or system. It has the potential to have amazing benefits, but we have to check its work rather than blindly trusting what it gives us. And it's not just AI where smaller Chinese private companies have been stunning the world. Biotech and biopharmaceuticals has been another. In some areas, China has now become a world leader, including one type of genetic cell therapy, where almost half of the treatments currently being developed are coming out of Chinese R&D labs. I recently visited one of those labs in Zhangjiang, Shanghai's biomedical hub. For decades, medical science has chased a cure for cancer. It's become a byword for the impossible. But in recent years, new strides taken in biomedical research have started to produce some very encouraging results. And those results emerge from labs like this. I'm here to learn more about how these new treatments are produced, and that starts with meeting Crystal Sun.
Hello.
Hi, Crystal.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
My name is Crystal Sun, and I'm CEO and founder of Immunofocal. Immunofocal is mainly engaged in the development of cell therapy drugs for solid tumor, such as CAR-T.
CAR-T is a branch of what's known as immunotherapy, using the patient's own immune system to fight cancer. CAR-T works by genetically engineering the patient's T cells, which are the cells that track down and kill other cells which are diseased or infected, so that they home in and destroy cancer cells. 6 CAR-T therapies are approved for use in China, but only for blood cancers, not the solid tumours, which Immunofocal focuses on. There are more than 4 million cancer cases diagnosed in China every year, according to the World Health Organization's Global Cancer Observatory. That means, compared to many developed nations, cancer rates here are actually quite high. Lung cancer is by far the most common, but there are also high rates of colorectal and liver cancer. These generally present as what's known as solid tumours, things like sarcomas and carcinomas. And it's finding treatments for these solid tumours that the researchers here in this lab at Shanghai's Zhangjiang High Tech Park are devoted to. Do you want to show me around?
Yeah, welcome to our R&D lab. Here we can do some in vitro cell assay tests, such as the transduction rate test and the cell viability test.
Right.
Please come in.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So this is the interior of the lab. What happens here?
In here we use a cell culture. We also test the cell viability and count the cell number.
There are patients around the country now participating in clinical trials for CAR T cell therapy for solid tumours. The techniques developed in this lab are used in much larger facilities conducting trials with T cells from cancer patients at hospitals in Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, Xiamen, and other places. The size of China's population means it's easier to recruit volunteers for clinical trials, and those trials can happen much quicker. It really speeds up the process, to the point where China is now the second largest drug developer in the world, behind only the United States. Western companies have been keen to license new Chinese-developed treatments and snap up Chinese biotech startups. And that's hardly surprising when companies produce trial results like Immunofocos. Crystal Sun tells me that some of their treatments so far show an almost doubling of the time patients live without their disease getting worse. And if clinical trials prove that they're both safe and effective, the next step for these treatments is approval for broader use. How would you rate the pace of innovation here in China compared to elsewhere in the world?
China is making faster progress in cancer treatment innovation, especially in cell and gene therapy. There is several reasons. First, with a larger patient population and rich clinical resources and strong government support, Chinese company can conduct a clinical trial very quickly and cost efficiently. Second, Chinese companies are getting more global recognition. We are doing more deals with international companies.
We saw quite recently President Xi Jinping meet with the leaders of some of China's top private enterprises and talk about really fostering the expansion of private companies. How do you foresee that filtering through to the biotech industry this year?
I'm very confident about the future of our biological industry area in China. Government are stepping up support with better funding, simpler regulation, and stronger protection for the new discoveries. This is crucial because these fields need initial support. Second, China's CAR T therapy is growing very fast, showing promise in treating solid tumor. With rich clinical resources and access to a larger patient pool, we can turn the lab breakthrough into the real treatment more quickly.
Fascinating insights, Crystal Sun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the interview.
Now we know making a new drug can take decades, from early discovery to all the way to clinical trials. Now for innovations like cell therapies, companies rely heavily on early stage lump sum funding to get things moving. Now what struck me the most in your story, Tim, was that it actually hit the 7-year low last year in terms of private funding into biotech firms. So how do you think these companies, they're maneuvering through these challenges? What's the general sentiment here?
Obviously, it's a challenging time for them, and we heard the CEO saying that they've got a strategy for attracting funding, but she told me that she's spending most of her time out there chasing investment. Now, I suppose that's fairly normal for a startup boss, but this also hasn't led to any sort of drop-off in the quality of the treatments that China is producing. I mean, the evidence is right there. The US drug maker Merck is buying up a Chinese startup to get its hands on the cancer treatment drugs that it's producing, and Immunofoco isn't the only one that's demonstrating really good results.
Now, I know in the story, Tim said they're seeing almost doubling of the time patients live without conditions getting worse using the treatment. So that's quite encouraging. Well, if you have any question about the stories or for us in general, you can find us on all the socials.
We'd love to hear from you, and you can find all of our content online as well. And join us here on Dragon TV Monday to Friday.
And thanks so much for watching. See you next time.
Bye-bye.